Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Roger McCoy. I've been asked to come to Hazlet High School this afternoon and help to talk with some of the other students. I know you've had a busy morning today talking all about a program called A+ Beginnings. And the idea of this program here is to, it touched on several different topics, but respect, self-respect, of course, for yourself, but respect for your students here at Hazlet High School. Also building a consensus with your classmates and with teachers and administrators here at Hazlet High School. Topics touched on everything from sexual harassment to questions about whether or not a Columbine High School, a tragedy like that, might even happen at a place like Hazlet High School, and the things to do, the warning signs to be looking for to make sure that something like that, a national tragedy, would never, ever happen here or any place else in this country. I'm joined this afternoon by several of your classmates here at Hazlet High School, and I just kind of wanted to begin. We have them all here in the studio with us this afternoon. I just wanted to ask all of you collectively to chip in and kind of give me your impressions of what you heard this morning, some of the messages that kind of have stuck in your minds, and some of your reactions to what you've been seeing and hearing. And let's go ahead, and I've got Lainey here with a microphone, so who wants to get the dialogue going this afternoon? Do we have any takers? Everyone's kind of collective groan. Aaron's over here. Okay, Aaron, never a one to be shy. Thanks for joining us, Aaron, and tell me what impressed you, what you liked, what you didn't like.
Well, I like the whole idea for the day because, last year there was so much talk about school improvement, and it's good we did something about it instead of always talking about it and not doing anything. And I thought the multimedia thing was pretty cool, like the music, and I was rocking out. And I thought the PAL thing was especially good. That the gong added much variety to it.
Was that part of the multimedia presentation?
No, that was part of the counseling office presentation.
Okay, all right. So I know that this is the beginning of a busy school year for all of you as students. And I guess one of the questions is why do you think that this particular day was created to begin with? Just because the administration felt you had to know these things because they were trying to get a consensus here? Anyone want to bite on that one? Nick over here is going to take a crack at it. Go ahead, Nick.
Well, I think it was just made up to pretty much make everyone aware of everything that goes on here and how to deal with the problems and if they have problems and where to go and what to deal with it and how to deal with it and stuff like that.
When you come to high school every day, I know you're busy with your classes and your extracurricular activities, but do you give much thought to like how you relate to the rest of the students around you, not just your friends, but even people that you may not know directly as friends, but they're classmates of yours?
I don't think people realize actually think about it as much as they should, but I think after today and after the stuff we went through today, people think about it a lot more. We
talked about the multimedia awareness session here. I know that there was also a session on sexual harassment. How did that go across? How was the sexual harassment section? I see someone shaking their head back here in the back here. Who is that? Let's take it over to Aaron. Aaron's in the back there. Aaron, first of all, tell me what the message was for the sexual harassment thing, and you thought that maybe they could upgrade that a little bit too.
The message was don't sexually harass people, and we've been getting the same message in life skills and everything for a long time. And it was even the same piece of paper. They gave us the same paper you get in life skills, so it seemed kind of repetitive.
I want to know though, because I think we kind of have a gender gap here, and I want some of the guys to weigh in on this thing. Aaron, when we talk about sexual harassment as a young woman, what's the big message for you?
The big message?
If there was one central theme for sexual harassment as a woman, the way that you conduct yourself, the way that you respond to sexual harassment, what would that be?
Just keep quiet. I don't know. I think that's one of the things they were talking about, that you should actually act out or do something about it. That was a main part of it.
Okay, so you need to take control of the situation.
Exactly.
As opposed to passively being part of that or...
Yeah, and it's good information to get out, but it's been out.
It's been out there.
I've got that memorized.
So we're going to work on that message. Next year, we're going to revamp that whole sexual harassment issue. How about the guys? When you guys were also part of this today, I know you've all shared in these sessions, the sexual harassment part of the equation. How did that strike you guys? Did you feel like this is old hat, or what's the message? David over here has got to weigh in here.
Well, being a sophomore, I really haven't did life skills yet, but I think that it needs to be brought up to all the sophomores. I know it happens, but we just don't notice it as much as little things. But yeah, I think it was a good class overall.
The theme in society is if you watch, depending on what cable shows you're watching, sexual harassment can be a very pervasive, permissive theme about the way that men treat women or that they treat each other sometimes too. And I'm wondering if some of those things kind of need to be put into a greater perspective of just, again, self-respect or mutual respect.
I really like the guy on how he like reversed it and said like girls do it to guys also, because pretty much when you think of it, it's pretty much guys always sexually harassing girls, you know. And I think he said something about it happening to guys a lot more than it does happen to girls. It's in more private places, so you know I'm glad he addressed that.
So it cuts both ways, but in very different ways. The messages are different, but they both affect each sex differently. Beyond the sexual harassment, I think one of the overriding issues that this whole A+ Beginnings Day was predicated on was the terrible tragedy that unfolded at Columbine High School last spring. Shocked the country. And practically every school district, because we did a number of stories on this throughout mid-Michigan, and every school district, it seemed like every student that we talked with, every parent that we talked with, every teacher, every administrator that we talked with, all were asking the same questions. If something like that could happen at Columbine, Colorado, could something like that happen in Hazlet or Okemos or East Lansing or someplace else here in mid-Michigan? What's the answer to that question here at Hazlet High School? Now we've got an audience here. Okay. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, the tragedy at Columbine could basically happen at anywhere, at any time, at any place. It doesn't really matter. But basically, it was just, you know, the mistreat and lack of care to all the people is what made it happen. So it could happen anywhere.
One of the elements was the fact that you had a group at Columbine, I guess in that case the Gothics,
Yeah.
who felt like they were the outcasts, who felt like they were discriminated against by many, if not most, of the other students at Columbine High School. They had a particular disliking of student athletes, of minorities, and others, so they chose, at least two of these individuals chose to act out violently. You said something like that. How many of you think something like that could possibly happen at a place like Hazlet High School? And I want to pass this around because I think in the back there, we've got Lindsay back there, and Lindsay, I want to hear your thoughts on. But answer that question, if you will, first for me. Could something like Columbine happen at Hazlet High School?
I think something like Columbine can happen anywhere because from what we saw on the news, it seemed like Columbine was a high school a lot like ours, where, you know, it's a new building and you've got, like, good teachers and a lot of, you know, good staff and good students, but I think it's all about being aware of the students' like feelings, and if something's going on that maybe could be a problem, that you gotta kind of be aware and understand. Because I know there was a couple times on the news when you heard that something was like looked over about how, you know, maybe it was told that something was going to happen but nothing was done about it. So I think to prevent it, you just have to be aware of what's going on.
And I guess communication is a big part of that today. I want to come back to Columbine here in a second because I know that's kind of one of those common themes that we all probably have some feelings about. But you talked about the aspect of if you suspect or even know that something is amiss here at the high school, if you know, for example, that another student may have a weapon or that another student may be threatening to do something, did anything that you heard today shape your thought about how you should communicate that? If you should communicate it, I know that we had the Meridian Township Police Department talking about some of those issues. Did any of those notions strike you this morning? If you knew that a fellow student, even if it was let's say a good